Dr. Hajo Sani. She's really a great woman. She was close to ex-President Buhari, and now she is the ambassador of Nigeria to UNESCO. And we are so honored that she could come to be with us this afternoon. I'm so happy.
Thank you very much.
So now we were talking about Sahel at the first part. We were talking about Sudan, especially because His Excellency, the ex-Minister of Foreign Affairs, was here and he gave us really very good insights about the Sudan affairs. And now we want to talk about Africa in general with the foreign, the big powers. And how are we going to deal with what's happening with our motherland, Africa, because it's the richest continent of the world and the most generous, the most dynamic, and the youngest in population, Africa. Africa is the future, according to my opinion. I believe it should be the future of the mankind now, and I want your insight, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, my sister, and thank you very much for the kind words and the introduction. Just to say that my name is Dr. Hajo Sani. I used to be Minister for Women Affairs of Nigeria and work in the presidency last administration as a senior special assistant to the president in charge of the office of the First Lady of Nigeria. And before the end of the administration in 2021, I was then appointed Nigeria to UNESCO. As an academician by background, being a teacher, a classroom teacher, I headed a school as a school principal of a girls' secondary school, and that is why I'm really very touched and very close. And anything to do with issue of education, issue of learning, academy is very close to my heart. So on that note, I thank you, the management of this great institution in Paris, for recognizing me. This is the second time I'm appearing in this session. Last year I was here, and I'm very happy to be with important and resource persons, people like former president, former ministers, key important people of international relations to come and exchange our ideas and to talk about mostly issues, current issue that is affecting our continent, Africa. Most especially now that the focus is on the Sudan, the Sahel, and we share part of the Sahel because we are really very close to the Sudan. We share a lot in common, all our other Africa. To talk about my country, Nigeria. Nigeria, as you know, is the most populous black country or in the continent and black nation in the world. And we are getting to over 250 million now. By the last session, and I think maybe if the census is to be conducted now, I am sure we are going to be more than 250 million, and we are over 250 ethnic groups. By that, I need to say that even in Nigeria, you live within a community where you can't even communicate between yourself because you speak different ethnic, different dialect. And mostly we use English, being our national language, to communicate. Like typical example, this is Dr. Remy, it's been my colleague in the UNESCO. We come from Nigeria, but we are from different parts of the Nigeria, the country. I can speak his language, he can speak my language. We now depend on English as the only way. So I'm giving you this description to see how complex my country, Nigeria, is. And I feel if we describe Nigeria, we describe the whole of Africa.
Exactly.
In so many ways, economically, politically, and even socially, and culturally. And for that, we always describe Nigeria as the most populous, multicultural, multi-ethnic, and multi-religious country. So you can see the complexity. And this complexity is important in trying to understand and look at certain international relationship. International relationship based on relationship and cooperation between one country to another, that is within the continent, and also international relationship based on the cooperation and relationship with other outside nation and continent. For example, we look at the issue of politics. Politics is becoming very complicated, not only in Nigeria, in most African countries. Most of the countries, we are trying to go democratic. Democratic in the sense that we want to develop and build a country whereby it's a government of the people for the people. But there are still certain challenges that is facing most of our African countries that we cannot be on our own. Some of these challenges might be internal, some are external. So we look at the issue of external challenges, there are many, and they are the ones that are destabilizing our country, destabilizing our individual countries, as we all get to know. Unless these challenges are addressed and look at positively to see how they can bring impact, they can impact positively on our different countries and on our people in such a way that the level of poverty can be addressed. Education can be now improved in so many ways, where we have a number of children going to school. Like now in my country, we have over 10, according to last count, they say 10 million children out of school. This is much, this is huge. And why is it so? Some of this, like I say, has to do with our internal issues, then which goes back to the external challenges. External issues, country like Nigeria, we say Nigeria is a very rich country with oil, petroleum, we sell to this country, to the West, everywhere. Then where is the money? The money doesn't come for us to utilize it for the development of social services, including education, whereby every child will be given the opportunity to go to school. So it's an issue. And this goes back to the issue of corruption. Corruption has become a threat, a big threat in our African continent. Of course, my country, Nigeria. How do we corrupt? Why are we corrupt? We are corrupt because those in power, the leaders, they steal the money meant for the development of our country for their own personal selfish use. How do they do it? That is why the issue of international relations come up. They don't keep this money inside Nigeria. They take it out of the Nigeria. To where? Some of these countries, the world powers, to Europe, to Asia, to everywhere, and keep it there. And why should they accept them? How can a single person carry billions of dollars to say it belongs to him and open an account in a country like Switzerland, in America, in China, in all these foreign countries, and keep them? And the government is quite aware that this money cannot, it will be a miracle to say that the money belongs to him. How did he get the money? So this comes to the issue of international relationship. If the international relationship can be looked at positively for mutual benefit, possibly for the mutual benefit, corruption will be minimized. And if corruption is minimized, there will be peace. And if there is peace, there will be development. But most of the crises we have within the African continent, I'm telling you, they are as a result of external influence. Exactly. What do? We all belong to different countries. We are working using our brain academically to study, to do case study, to do certain research, to find out what are, for example, the causes of corruption. We do this research and definitely we find answer to some of these answers. How do we apply it? How do we implement it? How do we accept? How do we make our leaders, the leaders of our different countries, to accept the result of this finding? and also implement it, and to see that it positively affects our country, then there will be development. In every international relation, there must be cooperation. International cooperation. We agree within ourselves. International cooperation could be in education, could be in trade. Trade is very important. Most of the issues where we have problems is as a result of our economic wealth, what we have, what we possess, what a country has on its own. Could be mineral resources, could be agricultural products. And we are not all equal. Every country has its own potentials. And if we can bring each country's potential and harness together and look at what I don't have, I can give you, for example, I can send to China. China can send its own to Nigeria, for example, as a case study. Then there will be mutual respect.
Exactly.
There will be defined international relationship, and the two countries will be based on mutual benefits. Nigeria, for example, as a case study, and China have an excellent trade relationship. Nigeria and China is on top of Nigeria's trade. And of recent, we hear since 2003, Nigeria has benefited over about 12 point something $trillion from China in terms of development of trade, term of development of infrastructure. They are mostly in railway. Most of the railway lines in my country are being supported, got from the loan from Chinese. Chinese have penetrated deeply into the Nigerian economic system, and we are benefiting very well. But still, there are some issues. Sometimes somebody wonders, how did it come? Why is it so? There must be something behind it. And still, when it is studied very clearly and deeply, you come to understand, yes, why such large money coming to Nigeria? There's a question mark. And if it comes, how can Nigeria pay off such loan? So-called loan is invited command. How do we intend to pay it off? And who are those that facilitate the flow of this loan to Nigeria? There has been a lot of debate in my National Assembly regarding this. And some lawmakers who are so committed are trying to find out who are those taking the loan and what benefit are they thinking for themselves? And you see that most of those that facilitate this law, they are also doing it for their own benefit. So that is why I asked the question, why such loan? Why does it happen? On what basis? What was the motive? So this is just one typical small example. I felt we need to look at it from the perspective of international relationship, the issue of trade, the issue of loan. Yes, Africa needs help. Africa has the youngest and the largest population of young people that needs to be developed. We need to develop their talents. We need to develop. And these young people, they are very, very resourceful. Because if opportunity is given to them, they are going to they are the one that will actually bring up the dream and the development of the African continent. So it could be a subject of further research in trying to find out, when look at it from the perspective of the young population of Africa, the number of young people, for us to explore the possibility. What opportunity do they need? What, based on international relationship with, for example, country like China, that has the biggest market, produce a lot of things and bring them to Nigeria. And there's been a lot of problem because we used to have local industries from our independence, 1960. All our industries, manufacturing industry, were doing well. We used to have very big iron and steel industry in Nigeria. But I think the past 2 decades now, they are not functioning. Most of these things are not industry. Why? Because most of the things that we need to produce internally within the country are now being brought out from countries like China. So we are more or less consumers now, not producers. They come and making us redundant. That could be the cause, main reason why we have this large population of young people that are not doing anything. And they are becoming threat to our internal peace and security. We need to do something about it. There's been a lot of issues coming up in Nigeria to say that the best thing the government now should do everything possible to find a way of engaging these young people, to keep them busy, because they are the instrument of insecurity in most of our country. And why I said at the beginning that some of the insecurity issue we have challenges in Nigeria are being affected or influenced by external factors. External factors, yes, could be visible or invisible. Invisible in, for example, this one I just narrated. We used to have industry, they are no longer working. Now things are being brought up from other countries, China, to fill in and making these children, younger generation, idle and not engaged. If something is done, this is the best way we can do. We need training. We need capacity building. We have the raw materials. We need our industry to be instated, so to say, to give way for development in our respective African countries. I don't know whether my time is up, but somehow I need to say that this meeting is very important. And I'm happy, even though I was given a very short notice, I had a lot of engagement trying to cope with some of the issues we have in UNESCO Executive Board. We just finished our general conference and so on and so forth. But that notwithstanding, I'm happy to be here to give my little voice, a little idea that I feel might be useful, might be looked into, might be reviewed. And we can find the question inside us. And we can find the answer inside. We can find the answer within this kind of gathering. No matter how big or small, even if it is of 4 people, 3, we can find the answer. Because I believe this academic institution has a target, has an aim, has an objective, and is very focused on looking at issues, not within here, but issues that affect Africa. And it's really very critical. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I want to add something. Don't you think all the countries are facing the same problems now? Even in Europe, they have the same. Deindustrialization. They are not. What's happening? So deindustrialization, they are not industrial anymore. Even the industrialized countries are not industrial anymore. It's young. They are the fruit of insecurity because they are idle, as we say. Even in Europe, we are facing the same problems, not only in Africa. But Africa can be better than Europe because it's wealthy. The underground of Africa is so rich that you don't need loans. And especially Nigeria is the first economy in Africa. I think, not South Africa, it's Nigeria is the number 1. Yeah. Yes. So I think you don't need even loans. You have to work and to reindustrialize the country.
Yes, we need it, but industrialization at the same time needs assistance.
Yeah.
It's based on a technology. You talk about the West not being as rich as Africa, but the West is rich in terms of technology.
Yes.
Technological development is what we aid industrial development.
Yeah.
Because that is the background, that's the foundation.
Yeah.
So in what I said, I also made mention of capacity building.
Yeah.
And the fact that some of the world is also facing similar issue with Africa, that so to say is rich in terms of probably natural resources.
Yeah.
What is required here is a renewed and defined international relationship based on understanding, cooperation, based on cooperation,
Equal to equal.
You
Exactly.
understand what I have, I understand what you don't have. Let's look at it
Exactly.
on equal basis. I give you take, you give, I take.
Yeah.
And that is what is lacking in the whole world.
It's missing.
It's missing. That is what is missing, in the sense that we don't recognize the fact that I don't want to say yes, I have. I need your help,
Yeah.
and you who have the help to render me, don't look at it clearly that there is need for you to give me that help. I think that is a simple explanation of international relationship.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
Lovely. Yeah.